Deep within the whispering woods, where sunlight danced through emerald leaves and flowers bloomed in impossible colors, lived Celeste. She had chosen this hidden sanctuary 3 years ago, far from the village that whispered cruel words behind her back. Her cottage sat beside a crystal stream, surrounded by herb gardens that seemed to glow with their own inner light. Celeste possessed a gift that frightened others. She could heal with just a touch, mend broken bones with her gentle hands, and cure illnesses that baffled the village doctors. But gifts that seemed like magic often brought fear instead of gratitude. The villagers called her witch, sorceress, danger. So she retreated to the forest, where she could help the woodland creatures without judgment. On this particular morning, the forest felt different. The birds sang nervous songs, and the rabbits hid deeper in their burrows. Celeste stepped outside her cottage, her bare feet silent on the moss-covered path. She wore a simple dress of forest green, her long auburn hair braided with tiny white flowers. Something was wrong in her peaceful world. She followed the feeling deeper into the woods, past the singing waterfall and through groves of silver trees. The air grew warmer, tinged with smoke and something else, something metallic. Her heart raced as she pushed through a curtain of hanging vines and gasped at what lay beyond. In a clearing scorched black, a massive form lay crumpled against the ancient stones. Crimson scales caught the filtered sunlight like jewels, each one larger than her hand. Wings that could blot out the sky were folded in pain, and a great horned head rested heavily on the burned earth. Blood, darker than night, pooled beneath wounds that spoke of terrible battles. Celeste knew what she was seeing. Every child in the kingdom knew the stories. This was Drakthar, the Crimson Terror, the dragon who had laid waste to armies and struck fear into the hearts of kings. For 500 years, his name was whispered in warnings to disobedient children. He was death, destruction. The monster parents used to frighten their young ones into obedience. She should run. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, to hide, to put as much distance between herself and this legendary destroyer as possible. But as she watched, the great dragon's breathing grew shallow, labored. His eyes, when they flickered open, were not the blazing fires of legend. They were the deep red of autumn leaves, filled with pain and something that looked almost like resignation. Celeste found herself stepping forward instead of back. Her healer's heart saw only suffering that needed mending, a living being in desperate need of help. She had sworn long ago to heal any creature that came to her, and she would not break that vow now, even for the most feared dragon in all the lands. She knelt beside the massive head, her small hands trembling as they hovered over scales that could deflect swords and arrows. The dragon's eye rolled toward her, and she saw surprise flicker in those ancient depths. Perhaps he too had expected. Fear expected her to run screaming back to the village with tales of his location. Instead, she placed her hands gently on a gaping wound along his neck. Warmth flowed from her fingertips, the same gentle healing light that had saved countless forest creatures. The dragon went very still, not even breathing, as if afraid that movement might break this impossible moment. "I know who you are," Celeste whispered, her voice barely audible above the wind in the trees. "But I also know pain when I see it. Let me help you." The great dragon closed his eyes, a sound like distant thunder rumbling in his chest. And for the first time in 5 centuries, Drakthar the Terrible felt something he had forgotten existed. He felt hope. 7 days passed like a gentle dream in the scorched clearing. Each morning Celeste returned with fresh herbs, clean water, and hands that glowed with healing warmth. The dragon's wounds closed slowly, ancient magic fighting against her tender care, before finally surrendering to something stronger than spells or curses. Drakthar had never known such kindness. In 500 years of existence, he had known only battle, solitude, and the cold whispers of those who feared his name. Now this small human woman sat beside him each day, humming soft melodies while she worked, talking to him as if he were not a monster at all. "The village children used to love my stories," she said one afternoon, cleaning a deep gash along his wing. "I would tell them tales of brave knights in magical kingdoms. But I think the most beautiful stories are the ones about understanding, about looking beyond what we think we know." As her healing light flowed into him, something extraordinary began to happen. The ancient curse that had bound him to his dragon form for centuries started to weaken. The magic that had made him a prisoner in his own massive body began to crack like ice in spring sunshine. On the 8th morning, Celeste arrived to find the clearing empty, except for scattered crimson scales glinting in the grass. Her heart clenched with sudden fear. Had he left without a word? Had she dreamed these precious days of connection and growing trust? Then she heard footsteps behind her, soft and human. She turned to see a man emerging from the tree line, tall and strong, with dark hair that held hints of deep red in the sunlight. His eyes were the same autumn leaf crimson she had come to know so well, and when he smiled, she saw the gentle spirit she had been healing all along. "Celeste," he said, and his voice was like warm honey, nothing like the terrible roar of legend. "Your kindness has given me something I thought lost forever. The ability to choose my own form, to walk as both dragon and man." She ran to him then, and he caught her in arms that were strong but gentle, holding her as if she were made of starlight and dreams. When their lips met for the first time, the very air around them shimmered with magic. Flowers bloomed at their feet, and the forest itself seemed to sing with joy, but their happiness was shadowed by approaching danger. Through the trees came the sound of hunting horns and the clatter of armor. Sir Tobias, the kingdom's most famous dragon hunter, had finally tracked the Crimson Terror to the Whispering Woods. He rode with 20 men, all sworn to end the dragon's reign of terror once and for all. "They will kill you," Celeste whispered against Drakthar's chest, feeling his heart beat strong and steady beneath her palms. "Not if they cannot find me," he replied, but his eyes were sad. "I should leave, Celeste. I should disappear into the mountains where my presence cannot bring danger to you." "No," she said fiercely, surprising them both with the strength in her voice. "I have spent 3 years hiding from people who feared what they did not understand. I will not hide anymore, and I will not let you hide either. If they want to find the dragon, they will also find the woman who loves him." Drakthar stared at her in wonder. "You love me? Even knowing what I am, what I have done?" "I love you because of who you choose to be now," she replied, rising on her toes to kiss him again. "Love is not about perfection, Drakthar. It is about seeing someone's true heart and choosing to nurture the best in them." The horns grew closer, and they both knew their time was running short. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Sir Tobias burst into the clearing with his sword raised, expecting to find the Crimson Terror wounded and ready for slaughter. Instead, he found a woman in a green dress standing protectively in front of a man with kind eyes and gentle hands. "Where is the dragon?" Tobias demanded, his armor glinting in the filtered sunlight. His men spread out behind him, weapons ready, eyes scanning the scorched earth for signs of their quarry. "Safe," Celeste replied simply, stepping forward with her chin raised and her hands steady. "And under my protection." The knight laughed harshly. "Your protection? Little healer, you cannot protect yourself, let alone the most dangerous creature in the kingdom. Stand aside and tell me where the beast has gone." "I am here," Drakthar said quietly, and the words carried such weight that every man present felt them in his bones. "But I am not what you think I am." Tobias raised his sword higher. "You are the Crimson Terror, destroyer of armies, killer of innocents. I've hunted you for 10 years, and now I will have your head. Then you will have to go through me first," Celeste said, and light began to gather around her hands. But this was not her gentle healing glow. This was something fiercer, protective, the kind of power that mothers summon to defend their young. "Celeste, no," Drakthar whispered, but she shook her head. "I told you I would not hide anymore," she said. Then, louder, so all the men could hear, "This dragon has harmed no one in these woods. He has eaten fish from the stream and berries from the bushes. He has helped me heal injured animals and sang lullabies to the baby birds. The monster you seek does not exist here." "Impossible," Tobias snarled. "Dragons do not change. They are creatures of destruction and greed." "Then explain this," Drakthar said. And before anyone could stop him, he shifted. The change was swift and fluid. his human form flowing like water into the great crimson dragon the knights remembered from their nightmares. But instead of roaring or attacking, he lowered his massive head and gently nuzzled Celeste's cheek. The men stepped backward in fear, but Celeste stood firm, stroking the dragon's snout with fearless tenderness. "Love changes everything," she said softly. "Even the most fearsome dragon can choose to be gentle when someone believes in the goodness of his heart, sir." Tobias stared in amazement as the dragon shifted back to human form. Keeping one protective arm around the small woman who had somehow tamed the kingdom's greatest terror. "This cannot be real," he whispered. "It is as real as the sunrise," said a new voice from the edge of the clearing. An old woman stepped through the trees, leaning on a walking stick carved with intricate runes. "As real as love itself?" "Grandmother Mira," Celeste breathed. Recognizing the village's eldest wise woman, the one person who had never feared her gift. "I felt the magic changing in these woods," Mira said, smiling at the unlikely couple. "Old curses breaking, new bonds forming. The dragon's rage was born from centuries of loneliness and rejection. But love, true love, can heal even the deepest wounds." She turned to address Sir Tobias and his men. "What will you tell the king? That you found a monster, or that you found proof that redemption is possible for any heart willing to change?" Tobias slowly lowered his sword. He had seen many battles, many victories, but he had never seen anything as powerful as the love shining between the healer and the dragon. "I will tell him," he said finally, "that the Crimson Terror is dead, and in his place stands a guardian of the Whispering Woods, protector of all who seek healing and peace." Drakthar bowed his head gratefully. "I swear by all that is sacred, I will use my strength only to protect the innocent and defend the helpless. The destroyer I once was is truly dead." As the knights departed, spreading word of the miracle they had witnessed, Celeste and Drakthar stood hand in hand in their enchanted clearing. The scorched earth was already beginning to bloom with new flowers, fed by the magic of their love. "What happens now?" Celeste asked, leaning against his strong shoulder. "Now we build a life together," Drakthar replied, lifting her hand to press a gentle kiss to her palm. "We heal the wounded who come to us, both human and creature alike. We show the world that love can indeed conquer all." And they did. The Whispering Woods became a place of pilgrimage for those seeking healing, hope, and proof that even the most broken hearts can be made whole again. Celeste and Drakthar became legends of a different kind, not for fear and destruction, but for the transformative power of love. Years later, when children gathered to hear stories by firelight, they no longer spoke in whispers of the Crimson Terror. Instead, they told tales of the dragon's heart, how a healer's love taught the world that every soul, no matter how lost, deserves a chance at redemption. In the deepest part of the forest, where magic flows like water and dreams take root in fertile soil, their love story continues still. For true love, once awakened, never truly ends.